What's up, guys? The artist here, and I am back with another edition of unnecessary commentary, and it's a special one this time because this movie's very near and dear to me. As you can probably tell from the photo, we are going to be doing Freddy versus Jason, which is not only very near and dear to me, but believe it or not, one of my favorite movies of all time for various reasons. So I figured, why not sit down and talk about it? I tend to try and do movies that don't have a commentary track on the DVD anywhere. This one is an exception, and I do have another movie that's gonna be an exception to that rule as well. But I figured for this one, uh, I figure there's a lot of stuff I could say about this movie. I know probably more about this movie than I should know about movies. This one and A League of Their Own, I think, are up there as two movies that I know way more information about than I should. Um, so, for the people who are just going to listen to me talk about the movie, hey, I'm going to sit here, talk about the movie, tell you some facts, maybe tell you what's going on in the movie in case you're not watching along. And if you are watching along with me on DVD or a streaming service somewhere or VHS tape, if you're watching the movie on Betamax or a fucking Super Nintendo cartridge, I'm about to hit play on the movie right about now. And it's doing an animation on the. Oh, okay. I got to select. I thought I had to pick full or widescreen on this bitch. You know what? We're gonna go widescreen on this one. We went full screen for. I'm gonna go widescreen here. Here we go. All right. So here we go. I'm gonna open up a drink here. This movie has been rated R. Now, Freddy vs. Jason, for those of you who don't know, has a very long history of production. I mean, the original this movie did not come out until 2003, and the I guess you could say the early production on this movie actually started in 1987. There was a very long production on this movie, and before I get too far into the movie, I got to tell you guys about a great book that I actually sat down and read called Slash of the Titans. It is about 13 unproduced scripts for this movie, and those are the ones that were officially commissioned, not even the ones that like random people took a run at. These were the officially produced ones, which ironically were 13, which I always found was pretty good. But there's some good ones in there. There's some bad ones. There's some ones I think they could have went with, and ones that I'm glad they didn't. Um, and this is the end result. This is what we got. And I will say there are some things that I think they should have did differently, and some things that I do really love about this movie. It was one of those things with this, as we see Freddy killing this girl, assumingly. Um, my issue with this scene is Freddy licks the back of the photo of the girl in kind of like a sensual manner, and then he puts it in his photo book. But like, how long does the saliva really stick? Because then he's shown with tape in his little memory book here, I guess. So like, how long is this spit really gonna hold, that picture? Anyway, um, this is the final one we got. And like I said, there could have been some things differently, and I will point out those later if they arise. As we see the very shortened origin story of Freddy here, where he's burned alive, and we get the close up. Now this is the now if you go look at Freddy in like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6, Freddy's dead, and then look at him here, it's almost like two different Freddys. But that's a good thing though, because like this one really wanted to bring back. This one did a really good blend of the comical Freddy mixed with Freddy being scary, because this first like three movies really were really like Freddy's scary, he's a scary dude and everything. That fourth one is when he really started to become that MTV cartoon character that people see him as. Oh, we got a little glimpse of Yasip Koto there, God bless him. um, but like this one kind of finds that perfect blend of him being a little bit of comedy in there. He has a couple quips here and there, but this one, he kind of brings it back to ground zero. You know what I mean? Um he is a little bit more scary in this one. Is my point. This film is directed by Ronnie Yu, and if you know anything about Ronnie Yu, he's directed Bride with Chucky. or Bride of Chucky, I should say. I love that shot, the Jason mask into the girl swimming, and then we got the girl here. Titties. Now this was actually a reshoot. The original final cut of this movie did not have this scene in it. The original final cut did not have any nudity in it. They actually had to go back and add this because, it just didn't feel like Friday the 13th without any nudity. So they had to go back and add some sort of nudity to this. And this is what we got. But I like how she was in the water like 8 seconds and she was just like, "This isn't funny." Like, okay, like, damn, you just got in there. You know? She does have nice chesticles. I will say that. You know? Now, very carefully, you hear that shing in the background. Like, you don't see Jason. You just hear the shing, like that machete being pulled out. Very subtle. Um, and there was our first. And now, let's talk about the big controversy of this movie. For years, when it was in production, for years, Kane Hodder took over the role of Jason Voorhees, and he really brought life to this character. He was the only one that really cared to sit in the makeup chair for hours upon hours, putting on the makeup to be Jason, and really kind of made this character his own. So when Freddy vs. Jason when it finally had like a release date um, on it, you know what? Fun fact here: this scene right here, when I was sitting in theaters, when the girl grabbed this tree right here, somebody screamed out loud, "That's not his log!" Which I'm going to talk about the screening a little later. Um, but when the movie was finally announced, they decided to not use Kane Hodder, and that was kind of an uproar, you know. But I will say, Ken Kersinger, who plays Jason in this, I think did a fine job. Would it have been great to see Robert Englund as Freddy and Kane Hodder as Jason? That would have been phenomenal, in my opinion. But I think Ken Kersinger does a good job, and I think people give him, they give him the brunt end of it, like it was his fault, and I think he gets a bad rap for it. That was more Ronnie Yu / execs at New Line, whatever one you want to believe there. Here we see Jason's mother, which is another fun fact. They actually wanted the original Pamela Voorhees, Betsy Palmer. They originally wanted her to cameo for the scene because they wanted to get as much, fan service as they possibly could for these movies. Now that they finally brought these icons together, but unfortunately, the pay just cannot be, she was being paid to. They offered Betsy Palmer like the lowest possible sum they could, and she was just like, no thanks, you know. But I think the lady they got did a fine job as well. I have no issues with her. I didn't assume to see Betsy Palmer. And I think one of the final scripts before the actual shooting script also included Lisa Wilcox's character from Alice from the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and also Tommy Jarvis, played by Corey Feldman. I always love that transition from the old woman to Freddy. And you got Freddy with his too long. Which that was always a thing in the script, is that they can never figure out a way to properly intertwine the two worlds of Freddy and Jason. A lot of them involved the cult, which I never liked any of the fucking cult ones. Any of the cult scripts I was never really a big fan of because I just thought it was stupid. You know? And this one kind of got Jason to where he needed to be. They got him to Elm Street. They got him to Springwood, Ohio. I thought without too much bullshit, you know, fucking Freddy enters his dreams and says, "Hey, you're gonna fucking work for me. Let's go." Yeah. Now we are introduced to our teenagers here, played by Catherine Isabel, Kelly Rowland of Destiny's Child fame, and of course the great Monica Keena, who. Now, Catherine Isabel also was somewhat of a screen queen before this movie. She apparently did a movie called Ginger Snaps, which I actually went out and watched after seeing this. I was like, okay, if I liked her in this, and I'll definitely like her in Ginger Snaps, and I did not like Ginger Snaps at all. Oh, I did not like it. I did not watch any of the sequels. I just did not like it. Um, but I love how they're playing Fuck Mary Kill, and like hers is just Scooby, Shaggy, and fucking Fred. She's like, I'm not answering that. Like, oh, Jason's right outside, and she flicks that. But of all, oh, because it's the 1428 here. I was like, of all the houses, how did Jason end up at this one? But duh. Um, Now, as I mentioned before, like one of the best scripts that I actually read for this fucking movie was actually like Jason was a real person and he's in court for all the murders that he did. And it's a very brilliant script. If you ever get to read it again, read the book Slash of the Titans, and you'll get a good idea of the script. And in fact, you can actually find this script online in a couple places. But if you ever get a chance to read it, it's highly entertaining. It actually the finale takes place in a mall, and it actually kind of gives the prelude to Jason X in a weird way. And the only thing I didn't like about this script is that they had Jason talk. That's the only one. That's the only. There was two scripts out there of the 13 commission one that had Jason talk, and the second one, which was Blood Knows Blood, was just whew, that one was rough, you know. And now we got apparently Kelly Rowland's character, who is what's her name in this movie? I should know it. Anyway, she's apparently the best friend of Lori, played by Monica Keener here. Now, it's funny when I first saw this, because, like, when I saw this guy, the guy macking all over Catherine Isabel, I was just like, I want this guy dead. You know, not knowing that he would eventually become the first casualty of this fucking movie. So I was like, wow, I kind of called this one, you know? And this guy just does not get it. I mean, she is laying as close as she possibly can to fucking Kelly Rowland's character, and like he just comes on over like, "Hi, do you know about feng shui?" You know. Oh. Kelly Rowland's character was just determined to get um Lori laid here. Don't make me ask you twice. See, that was the moment in the movie where I was like, I want this guy dead. When he was just like, "Babe, don't make me ask you twice." I was just like, holy shit. Like, kill this guy now. I don't even care. Have him fall down the fucking stairs. You don't even need to have Freddy or Jason kill him. Just have him fall down the fucking stairs. You know? Kia. That's her fucking name. Kia. See, I understand that this is a slasher movie. I get it. It's part of the Freddy and Jason universe and everything. But I always kind of wondered why Kelly Rowland didn't do a lot more acting. I'm pretty sure she's probably done like some small. In fact, let's rock an IMDb on that and see if she's done any more movies here. Because I'm surprised she didn't do more after Freddy vs. You figure that would have been a nice little launch pad for her. You know, kind of like Paris Hilton did with House of Wax. You know, she did House of Wax, started getting a few more acting gigs. You know, there's just Kelly Rowland, Kia. Let's see, did she do any other acting? Let's see the old filmography here, and the main one that comes up was for Freddy vs. Jason, so I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, okay, yeah, she's done some small stuff here and there. Nothing really. Most of her music videos, Beyonce, Boomerang, yeah. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is TV. Yeah, she did Empire. She did. Yeah, a lot of stuff is like music video related. So, yeah, she really didn't do a lot of movies after this, which I'm kind of shocked. You figure this would have jump started her career. Um, yeah, yeah. Oh, she was in the Seat Filler. I forgot about that one. I remember seeing that at the video store quite a bit when I worked there. Yeah. Most of these are music videos and TV, so she didn't really do a lot of movies after this. Interesting, you know. Like not even her Freddy vs. Wait a minute, where's Freddy vs. Jason on here? Okay, there's 2003. She did an episode of American Dream, The Seat Filler. Yeah, she did not do a lot of movies. Okay, she did not do a lot of movies on here. Fun fact, not really Catherine Isabel right there. Uh, body double was used. She did not want to do nudity for this movie. And Ronnie Yu was trying to talk her into it, but it just didn't work out. And here comes the first kill of the movie. Oh, look at that! Just see, this is the one. This is one thing that did bother me. I think Jason should have just came in, stabbed him in the lower back like that a few times, and that's it. Just left the scene. But then he adds insult to injury by, the bed falling. I just thought that was a little corny. I always thought the bed kill was a little corny. I think the stabs with the machete in the lower back was perfect. Then you have that beer shaking in his hand and shit. Um, but I didn't make the movie. Uh, I forgot what is Catherine Isabel's name in this movie. I forgot. You would think I know all their fucking names. I've seen this movie so many damn times. They're screaming outside. I don't know. It's kind of comical. And here we go. We get Lachlan Moreno's character. Yeah, Lachlan Moreno, who is in Dead Man on Campus. You guys need assistance? What the fuck do you think? Great fucking read there. Gibb. That's who she plays, Gibb. Now they're putting the cops are putting the pieces together, or this cop is putting the piece together about Freddy Krueger, because at this point we're living in a Springwood that the whole town has kind of suppressed fucking Freddy. Like no one knows who he is, no one talks about him, and that's kind of what rendered um, Freddy powerless in a way. And that's kind of like the premise to a law script that Peter Jackson wrote for Part 6, where nobody dreams about Freddy anymore unless, just to fuck with them. So it's kind of like a mix between that and everything. So it's kind of interesting that they went that route. But then Lori overheard the cop say his name, and that's the spark that Freddy needs just to get his name back out there and to start spreading again and gain more power. And I always thought Monica Keena was so pretty in this movie. But if you go, she's also in a movie that I love dearly called Orange County. She's only in it for a few scenes, but like if you go look at her there and look at her here, it's like two different people. And these movies came out in the same, I think, within a year apart of each other, if I'm not mistaken. You know. Now she put her head down on the desk. When I first saw this, I called it right then and there. I was like, she's in the dream. You know. I was like, first time I ever saw this, I was like, the second she put her head down, I knew she was in the fucking dream. You know. So some of it was a little predictable, but again, it was just the hype of it. You gotta understand, like y'all just don't understand how hype I was for this movie. I went and saw it opening night, right? Did I go see it opening night? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I went and saw it opening night, and just the weight that I had and all the news I had to read on this movie coming forward, and then like actually seeing a trailer, and like, oh my god, it's actually gonna happen now. And after reading it for so many years, and all the casting changes, Lisa Wilcox, Corey Feldman's in it, this person's in it. Oh no, now they're not in it. Kane Hodder's in it, now he's not. Ken Kersinger's in it. All the many direct. So it was. I was really hyped when I got to go see it in theaters. So that's why this movie's kind of like really near and dear to me. People will look at this movie and be like, it's whatever. It's slasher or schlock. Which I can see their point. If you look at this with no context, if you don't look at the previous movies or whatever, it is. It's a typical slasher movie in theory. It is just bringing two icons together, essentially. But, I mean, for like somebody like me who loved the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, somebody who paid like $80 for the VHS box set, you know, um, this was like, the coup de grace, you know. Wow, watching this on DVD like this, like, wow, like, I don't know, just that background, that, like, the way that was shot with Monica Keena in that background just looked really weird. I don't know why. I used to quote that all the time: warn your friends, warn everyone, you know. And that, see, why is there a cemetery outside of the fucking um, Nightmare on Elm Street house all of a sudden. That's something they never really explained. Because, like, to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure there was never tombstones and shit outside the Elm Street house. I'm fairly certain, you know. But now we have that that good old chant with the girls jump roping, you know. And got that classic house look. So you're seeing right there. See, Freddy just gave her a little scare. He couldn't do anything, but he gave her a little scare, and then she woke up. So I was just like, fucking, I knew it, you know. And we now this is the guy that was kind of Mac on Monica Keena's character, Lori. Um, which I mean, you would think that his reaction was a little fucking unwarranted, but I mean, he did come out there after seeing somebody, seeing his friend essentially probably stabbed and folded up in a bed. I'm assuming he saw that. But his dad comes out there like, "Why the hell were you even over there? Like, what were you doing?" And he's like, my friend was just killed. You could treat me a little fucking nicer. You know. Here's another great sight gag here coming up. Now apparently, this is one I did not call. All of a sudden, he's like in a dream here. Sees that bush shaking. And apparently this reference here is a reference to the first Nightmare on Elm Street, but I don't fucking get it. Like where's that? Yeah, the goat. There it is. Apparently that's a reference to the first Nightmare on Elm Street, which I don't get it. Here's a great effect right here, like the shadow Freddy trying to stab him and everything. I don't understand why they ADR that line in that I'm all right. Like we can obviously see if he's running away, he's all right. So I don't understand why they ADR that line in. I remember seeing that clip online. Like that was like one of the clips they released online where he's like, "Not strong enough yet. Till then, I'll let Jason have fun." Man, he must be a heavy sleeper if like Jason was able to cleanly decapitate his dad next to him while sleeping. And then he holds up his dad's head to defend himself, which is such a great sight gag. All right, we're at Weston Hills, which, if you remember from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, which I thought was a great callback. That was great from Mark Swift and, what's his name, Damon Lindelof. Brandon Flesher in here, which he's a great character in this movie. Pretty much whenever you see him, he's here to push plot, And then we get John Ritter's son, Jason Ritter, here. Which apparently the actor, what's his name? I want to say Brad Renfro. Brad Renfro was originally cast in the role of Will here. But apparently his drug issues became a problem, so they had to recast him. And Jason Ritter here got the role, which is funny because his dad, John Ritter, was actually in Bride of Chucky with Ronnie Yu. So... But at Weston Hills, they all take the same drug that was in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Hypnosil. That's the drug that's used to, repress dreams. It represses, Freddy, essentially. This is another like little comical moment I like right here. They're in a mental asylum. They're having this conversation, and right here, he's tugging him on his shirt to play checkers. And here we go. How many times I've told you, I'm not a checkers guy. I'm an Uno guy. So why don't you go over there and grab the fucking Uno deck, and then we'll play. Brandon Flesher, for you guys that don't know, he's in a shitty Paris Hilton movie called The Hills. Which I didn't know that until I watched it. Plus, he plays a little role in, I think, the first or second. I'm pretty sure it's the first episode now I think about it. The first episode of The Last of Us. He has a great role, and he just held this picture up, and we see the great Zach Ward. Zach Ward, who plays in one of my favorite Christmas movies. He plays in one of my favorite sitcoms of all time, in Titus. Um, he has a small role in this, which is fantastic in my opinion. The inclusion of Zach Ward in this was a welcome surprise. Now they're trying to distract the guard so he can get out and go see if Lori's okay. Because in this universe, Lori and Will used to date each other, and now he saw Lori on the news, so he is worried that something's wrong with her. Her house on the news, I should say. He's worried that something's wrong with her, so he is trying to devise a plan to get her out, to get Will out, so he can go see her. And he shows that he stole the keys. My thing is like, yeah, he stole the keys and everything. He drugged them and everything. He stole the keys, but like, how'd they get past him again? Because obviously they're watching him like a hawk, you know. But oh, look at that. We see the dad drugging her, which that actually comes into play later. That's actually like if it were a sitcom, I would say it's like a B plot type of thing going on here. It kind of ties into the main plot, obviously, of Freddy versus Jason, but you know. But at this point, Lori's just, she's like, I don't want to go to sleep. She saw that guy and she's just like, I'm over it. You know. But this right here, you could kind of say was like the introduction of the micro sleeps that they introduced in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, because she kind of has one right here. She kind of has that little micro dream right there where like, we need to get you to bed, and Freddy appears and she wakes up right away. So this was kind of like an introduction to the whole micro sleep storyline that they did in the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Now going back to when I saw this in theaters, and like I said, I can watch this. This is like a background movie to me at this point, as many times I've watched this. But I will say, if you ever do get to watch this in like a packed theater with like 300 fans, that is definitely the way to watch this movie. I would highly suggest, if they ever like re-release this in theaters and you can go see it in theaters and watch it with like a group of horror fans, definitely the way to watch this movie. Not to say it's a bad movie. I'm just saying, like, in a viewing experience type of way, I would definitely say it's the best way. It's kind of like, like your favorite version of a movie on like physical media. Like, to me, like, I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times before. The VHS version of the movie Jumping Jack Flash, for some reason, is the preferred method. I think is the most superior method of watching that movie, because it just, I don't know, it's just classic to me. Whereas like Freddy vs. Jason, don't get me wrong, I can get down with the Blu-ray and get down with the DVD and everything like that, but I think the superior way to watch it, packed theater, 300 fans watching it with you. And there's a perfect moment coming at the end where like hopefully I'll remember it and tell you guys. And this is one thing I never really understood, is that like something horrible happens at this house. Their friend gets killed and shit. Now all of a sudden, why are they the weirdos? Like obviously in this way. Oh, there's the great Christopher George Marquette, who I thought was going to be a fucking big comedy star. I mean, he's also in the movie Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds and Amy Smart. He plays a great role in there, and he's also in The Girl Next Door with Emile Hirsch and Elijah Cuthbert. And he's a funny fucking guy. Really funny. So like him being in here is real great. Hey, look, it's Jason Mewes. No, not really. That's not Jason Mewes. But I mean, this is probably as close as to Jay as you could probably get without it being Jay. But if you ever see the documentary Never Sleep Again, which I should have included in my top 20 favorite documentaries. But if you ever get to see Never Sleep Again, there's a great bit in the documentary where Jason Mewes of Jay and Silent Bob fame pops up, and he starts talking about it. He was like, man, I remember when I got the call to do Freddy versus Jason, and it was a great time working. And then he pauses, and he's like, wait, I'm not in that fucking movie. And then that's it. That's all you see him in the documentary, and it's a really great bit in the documentary there. because it's obvious that he's a J-like character, but his name is Freeberg in this movie. Uh, I knew she's like having like this moment where she's freaking out, but I seriously doubt the whole school would have fucking stopped and looked at her like she did, like they did. See, and here he is again, Brendan Flesher here, um, pretty much telling her about Freddy and everything, and now he's told the whole fucking school. So again, this town has been working for years at this point to suppress Freddy, and coffee, make friends with it, and then for the first time they've seen each other. Now apparently, Will has been in a insane asylum because he saw Lori's dad kill her mom, um, and that's why he was locked up. But come to find out, that's not going to be the case, and he's trying to get Will out of here. And, oh, there's Bob Shea, the CEO of New Line Cinema at the time, and his cameo here. He's actually credited as Robert Shea in this movie. Um, now, I will say there is an inconsistent. A lot of people like to point out this inconsistency with this scene, and to that I say, like, okay, well, here's Lori sleeping right now, like right here. Kia, she sees this, she has this obsession with getting a new nose at one point, and also Gibbs asleep next to her too. So like, why isn't she dreaming about this too? Anyway, um, but right here we see the magazine ad. Oh, I lied. There were some titties right here. Oh, there we go. I mean, probably not the titties that you would like, but they're there. But right here, got your nose, and then peels off. See, typically that would hurt somebody in the real. But my solution to that problem would be that Freddy's still not powerful enough yet. So that was more of a mind game than anything, rather than him trying to kill her. Because a lot of people point out like, well, he took her nose. How come it didn't hurt her? No, no, no. I'm just like, he wasn't powerful enough yet. You know. Just now they've introduced this whole school now to the concept of Freddy Krueger. And any of them have yet to go to sleep. So it's not like they have them on the brain yet. So I've watched this way too many times. I know. Now they're at the good old fashioned library. Look at that. The card system in the background. This is 2003, baby. They got the Dewey Decimal System out there. They got the microfiche. You know? And we find out that his brother here, they find out that all the news articles from when children have been killed and everything have been edited out of the old newspapers, edited out of the old microfiche. Where's Brickheck when I need him? You know, I can never work a microfiche like that, um, but according to this character, his brother killed himself. But again, we find out later that it can be it was further from the truth, impossible. You know, dude, I don't understand why he's rebelling against this. I mean, like, yeah, he allegedly saw like the dad kill the mom and everything, but like, why would he fucking think that this idea is so like bonkers off the wall? You know what I mean? You figured like in a situation like this where they've been locked up in an insane asylum for God knows how long at this point, years at this point. You figure like hearing this shit, they'd be like, okay, yeah, that's what's going on. We need to get with it. But I mean, he completely ignores it and goes. He's like he wants to argue with it. You know, again, just a minor inconsistency that I always found with this movie, but not enough. Again, just not enough to um, really like you know take away from my enjoyment of the movie, so to speak. You know. See, now they're figuring out that they've been drugged the whole time, as to why, you know, they don't dream. You know, and that's got to be like a weird sensation. You know what I mean? Like realizing that you don't do that anymore and everything. So, see, he's ready to go back. He's like, we're done here and everything. But um, Will wants one more day to figure it out. You know. But now we're about to see, strangely, well, I wouldn't say about to. I think it's a little bit, but we see the only Freddy kill in this fucking movie. You know. Oh, here we go. We got the rave now. The 2003 rave, man. Rave in the cornfield, man. You know. This was the one of the biggest stunts of the movie. There's another stunt coming up in the movie that was actually nominated for a stunt award. You know, Linderman. You know, but I like how he just rides his motor scooter out there, but he stumbles into it like, oh shit, like I'm not supposed to be here. Then why are you driving your moped in a cornfield in the middle of fucking nowhere? You know, like he just stumbled across this party. You know, like sorry. You know, that's another. You know, like another thing that kind of really bothers me about this fucking movie is that like this movie starts with him like obviously infatuated with Lori. You know, and then all of a sudden like him and Kia get this like mutual like respect slash love thing, and like that's one thing I just never really got. You know, but this was like the beginning of it. You know, he was just, she's like, oh, he's kind of tough after all. But I don't know. It's just something about it. I'm just like, You know, I don't know. Something that always really bothered me about this. Again, it's not a perfect movie, but I fucking love it. You know, doesn't have to be. Excuse me. Doesn't have to be a perfect movie for you to fucking love it. There's good old Jason Mewes again. And then, oh yeah, she heard what Freeberg was saying about it. See, now I could buy Gibb being at this party, considering what's happened and everything. I don't think Lori would be here. You know, I just don't buy her being at the damn cornfield rave. You know, considering like all the bullshit going on, like she just had this mental breakdown at school, and I don't buy her being there. But plot. You got to keep it moving. Yeah, I guess. But and then all of a sudden, we just passed it, but it was Kia. All of a sudden, wanted to dance with Linderman, and it's just like, what? Like, didn't he just fucking burn you, like bad? Now you want to dance with him? Like, I don't know. It's just things like that. In this scene right here, Monica Keena kind of has the Sabrina Carpenter look to her. She kind of, the blue eyes, the blonde hair, and everything. Maybe a little bit more mature look. But again, I implore you all to check her out in Orange County and then watch this and tell me it's not two different people. Um, she's apparently in a movie called Crime and Punishment in Suburbia, which I have not got to watch yet. I've been meaning to watch that one. Um, I like how once it starts getting serious, Now, all right, Gibb is like trailing off into the cornfield here. Here's this guy just completely dressed in fucking like glow sticks and glow necklaces and everything. I understand she's drunk, but you're telling me he. Oh, okay, she already passed out. So now she's visioning her old boyfriend here. And there's the "Don't make me ask you twice." She just drops the cigarette and the beer. Just like, all right, I guess I'll follow it. Now we don't know it at this moment, but she's obviously being played with by Freddy because that's something they never really played with. I think in the original Nightmare on Elm Street movies with somebody being passed out drunk, you know, and in this case she is. She's passed out drunk. I mean, that could be like a virtual, um, or not a virtual, a literal wonderland for somebody like Freddy. I mean, just imagine somebody who could not wake up in that moment, you know. And this has been a transition I always liked. It was like a corn silo, and then all of a sudden it's Freddy's boiler room, which I always loved how that happened. You know, like she's in the cornfield and everything, and then all of a sudden, boom! It just looks like a boiler room. It doesn't. See, there's old Freddy, and then the Hitchcock shot. I like that right there. You know, I don't know what that shot's called. I call it the Hitchcock. The Hitchcock. Um, that zoom or like the background. Oh, shout out to the first one right there with that face coming through. So judging from the time frame here, she had to have passed out like the second she got to that part right there. Like she was just walking and boom, and then Glow Stick Boy's just like, okay, you know, this is my opportunity right here. You know. But also, this is this could be a great message for teenagers and everything because Jason comes in and he punishes him for what he does, so it could be a great message for not doing that, you um, Freddy is finally powerful enough people remember him now. Again, he was shared at school essentially. Um, but he's shared now. He's finally going to get a kill. He's going to get a little bit more power too, and everything. And he's chasing Gib all around here. And oh, here's the shot. This is the trailer shot right here. This iconic shot, him coming around, tapping the claws on the metal. Oh, it's so good. He refers to Jason. See, this is what I mean. Like, he's kind of scary, but he refers to Jason as an errand boy, which I thought was kind of funny. You know? Oh, don't worry about my little errand boy. You know? Yeah, and like that right there, he just has the claws. He's ready to kill her, and then she falls down. And all he can say is, "Oh." Like, so again, like Freddy has that good mix in this one of like the comedy and the horror in there. Now, why on earth would you ever want to hide in a locker? Like, regardless of how quiet, I've played enough Dead by Daylight to know that that's not going to work for very long. I've tried the old the old fucking locker routine, and it doesn't work for very long. You have to be really clever to make the locker routine work. You have to have certain aspects, or what is it? Oh man, not mores, but what are they called? Attributes, I guess would be the best way. You have to bring in certain attributes to the game to make the locker thing work. But anyway, not here to talk about Dead by Daylight. See, Freddy knew she was there and he was going for it, and oh, nope. Which, again, this is another thing that you don't really see in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. You don't get to see what happens to somebody when they die in a dream by somebody else. And that's another aspect that we get to see in this movie. But in this case, it pisses Freddy off. Because he was finally going to get his first kill, get some power back, and Jason's like a dog that doesn't know when to stop eating. He just doesn't know when to stop killing. In this case, and Freddy realizes that he can't control him. He thought he was just going to be like a little puppet, and it turns out it's wrong. And here comes another great line by I believe his name is Horseshack in this movie, if I'm not mistaken. Well, hey, Jethro. Go find yourself a pig to fuck. Oh, my God. The way he twisted his head around and poked him down is such a... See, I could see Kane Hodder pulling that type of move. So, like, it kind of reminded me of a Kane Hodder move. Now, this stunt right here, they burn motherfucker. If you ever hear me playing a video game and you hear me say burn motherfucker, I'm referring to this movie. So there you go. But this stunt right here was one of the biggest stunts in the movie. And strangely, not the stunt that was nominated for like a stunt award. That's actually one at the end of the movie. Um, Ken Kersinger, who plays Jason in this movie, he really wanted to do this stunt because he is a stuntman by trade. But they said for insurance and legal reasons, because in this movie he's not a stuntman, he's an actor. He couldn't do this stunt, so he was really disappointed that they had to get a stuntman for this one. And here goes that flaming. Oh man, just imagine like if this movie came out in like 2008, that would have been like an awesome 3D shot they would have did. 2008, 2009, something like that. That'd been a great 3D shot they would have did. That machete coming through the chest right here. I love how his response is just to throw beer at him, you know, and then the beer puts out his fire while everybody fucking flees the cornfield. Now everyone's well aware of Jason instead of Freddy, and they discover Gibbs dead. I think Gibb would just had to be a sacrifice in that situation because what is it? Glow Stick Boy was essentially date raping her at that point, and he took him out, but he had to take out Gibb with her too. Now they have all gathered in the that goalie was pissed about something. Um, they're all in the back of the van here. Now at this point, apparently they've taken everybody home because like, he's like, "Take me home," and like Kia's the last one, and like nobody else is in the van. I'm like, huh? I guess they made multiple stops. I guess. Now they just saw a hockey masked man in a cornfield just obliterating most of their high school friends, and they just drive home casually, dropping off their friends at home. Not a stop at the police station. Not a like, hey, by the way, we saw this while we were, well, it was a rave in a cornfield, so I guess that probably wouldn't be a good idea, come to think of it, you know. So I guess that kind of makes sense, but still, you know, it is a little off putting, you know. Here we go. We get uh, Lori and Will in the um, van, and he's going to tell her that he was sent to the insane asylum because he saw her dad murder her mom, allegedly. Again, we find out later that's not technically the case. Um, like, how did he know that van was him though? Because they made it pretty clear earlier that it was his friend's van. The character Brandon Fletcher's van. But like all of a sudden he knew that was him in that van and he came out here to start shit. And like from the angle, you could tell that they were parked away from that house. So like I don't know, man. Again, plot. I always thought this was a little overreaction from Laurie's character. This like that scream with that stop it, fuck. I always thought that was a little overreacted. Now they just came in from the pouring rain, and they totally do not look like they came in from the pouring rain, in my opinion. You know. She's like, show me a death certificate, show me an autopsy report. He kind of like felt his pockets for a second, like he really had that information on him at the moment, but whatever. Now she's now she believes Will, like, oh, he did kill her mom. You know. Now, I mean, and coming up pretty soon here, we're eventually we're what are we at? We're about 40 minutes into the movie now, and we still have yet to see Freddy fight Jason. But I'll tell you right now, if you've never seen this movie, which I'd be shocked if you're listening to this commentary and you've never seen the movie, but there are two major fights in this movie, and I think they do well enough fan service for Freddy versus Jason. I think we get our money's worth in the versus department here. you know. See, like, why is the window already open for her? Like, I mean, to be fair, they probably didn't expect the rain, you know. But still, why did you leave the window open? Convenience, I guess. Plot convenience, I guess, is probably the term I'm looking for here. See, and where did Will go? You know, like where did he go, man? Like he had his van and everything outside. He just had this confrontation with her dad, and then oh, there he is. You know, just grabs her from a bush, which I'm just like, oh yeah, great howdy do there. You know, she's just walking alone in the rain and just snags her from outside of a bush. Probably wouldn't be a great howdy do if you ask me, but who knows? I don't know. That's love for you. That's teenage love for you. Yeah, I guess. I mean, really, technically, these people aren't teenagers. What was fucking what was Kelly Rowland at the time? Wasn't she like 23 years old at the time? You know, I think Monica Keena was like 20 something too, but that I could understand because that could have been the gag, you know, because like back in the 80s they did the you know, oh they're 25 but they're playing teenagers, you know. Oh, we're about to see Zach Ward here in his one part of the movie, in Freddy's one kill. Here we go. We get this steaming bathroom here. This was another clip I remember they released online before the movie. Everything up until the kill, obviously. Um, but like you know, it was another scene that kind of got me pumped for the movie. I think I was more pumped with the first scene than anything. You know, look how big this bathroom is. It's like half price books bathroom big. You know, like there's a lot of room for activities in this bathroom. You know, say like I Wake Aid. Not even like a different like I don't know, just Wake Aid. I always thought it was kind of a cheap name. And there's Freddy there, and then drops the Wake Aid down the drain. That's a great shot right there. That pill going down the drain. They shot that well. I like how he needs to take the Wake Aid, but like he's already in the dream. There he is, Zach Ward there. Now, according to what was it, Ronnie Yu, I think it took a very long time for Oh no, it was Robert Englund. It was very hard for Robert Englund to match up his ADR to Zach Ward's speech here to make it just right. Apparently, it took him a few takes here. Those right there, the eels on the floor. Believe it or not, that there's a deleted scene where the eels were actually thrown up by his character, but they cut it. They couldn't get it to look realistic. They were trying to use CGI, and the CGI just looked too fake, so they eventually just gave up on it and put the eels on the floor, which to me doesn't make any more sense than they would come out of his mouth, but whatever. See, and he's like, tell your friends a message, and he's like, I won't do it, and um, see, I always like the Freddy makeup in this movie. You know, it always looks very. I mean, it's a weird word to use for it, but very clean. You know. Now he's lighting him on fire. And see, I think it's weird how, like in the real world, he is like scrambling around. Like you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Not scrambling, but frantically, I guess, running around and everything. But in the dream world, he's pinned to a wall. I mean, I guess. And great visual gag, really. Freddy's back, and like it's written on his back. You know. Yeah, I mean, and like something about this timeline. Like again, this movie came out in '93, but if you really pay attention to this movie takes place in '96. You know, but they have cell phones. I think. I think they have cell phones. Did they show cell phones in this movie? I don't know. I don't remember. But this supposedly takes place after um, A little bit after, I want to say, Freddy goes to hell, or Jason goes to hell. I mean, it takes place after this. So, in technicality, in the movie world, I love that Harry Potter reference right there. We don't say his name out loud. But I was gonna say, technically, this movie takes place in '96, but I think with some of the technological advances, everything just doesn't match up that well. You know, like timeline wise, it takes place in '96 if you really put it together. But I think typically it takes place in present day. And it was really weird seeing Lachlan Moreno in this movie because, like, I grew up watching Dead Man on Campus a lot. So seeing him in this role was like really like okay, didn't see that one coming. But he was a welcome presence in this movie. Um, do they establish where they're at here? I don't think they ever do. You know, this movie brought to you by Coca-Cola. Second time Coke has been featured in this movie. There was a vending machine earlier. You know, see, and this is when they realize they're screwed either way. They're not safe, awake, or asleep. And then the Freebird character with the he fucking with the weed and everything. He's like, no, you're fine. There's a Sprite with the green bottle. Who remembers the green bottles at this point? You know, although it doesn't. It's weird that they specifically show the Coke can, but they don't show the Sprite, the Sprite label. That is, like, it's a fucking Sprite. But they don't show it Sprite. Now here we're getting, I believe, the background on Jason here. Okay, I just realized where we're at. We're at Freeberg's house because I saw a computer. I've never noticed it to this day. I saw the computer in the background just now and had a weed symbol on it. You know, so I never noticed that to this day. Over 20 years later, I'm still finding stuff with this movie. You know, Lori's drifting in and out of sleep here, which this one I will say just kind of came out of nowhere for me. See, and that kind of sets up a scene later. The fucking, like, Freddy was killed by fire, Jason by water. How can we use that? That kind of sets up something later that's kind of been like a big debate when it's come to this movie. But you know, I'll get there. Why is everybody looking at me? Even if you pay for it, it still counts. Now they're talking about sacrificing a virgin just so they could. I don't know if you didn't know she was in the dream. Now you do. See, and just let's tie the bitch up. Just so random. He had duct tape. Like what? Such a really random moment. See, I wish some of the nightmares would have been a little bit more fleshed out in this. No. I don't know. That line just seems kind of weird too. Your mouth says no, no, but my mouth says yes, yes. Like no shit. Now we find out that they can pull stuff out of the dream. That's got to be a hell of a grip though. If she fucking ripped off an ear, you know, she ripped off that dude's ear and brought it into the real world. Say awake or asleep. Trailer line. We're not safe awake or asleep. I'll admit it's a great trailer line. Um, and there's actually a trailer line that pissed me off when I first saw the trailer and got hyped for this movie. There was one line in the trailer that fucking annoyed the piss out of me, and that was Freddy versus Jason, huh? Place your bets. I hated that line. I hated it so fucking much. I was so glad they cut it from the movie. But you know who actually loved that line? Quentin Tarantino. That's who strangely liked that line. I don't know. I don't understand Quentin sometimes. Some of his movies are a hit, some of them are a miss with me. But I don't know. He always liked the. Apparently, he went to the screening, the premiere of the movie, and he was upset that that line got cut. You know, but it's a terrible line. I'm sorry. Freeberg's got a one-track mind, man. They're on the hunt for a dream killer and a hockey mask killer, and he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna take a little breather here to toke up here. You know, smoke up, kids. You know, I ain't no marijuana expert, but I'm pretty sure it takes more than to one hit to get you high here. Here is, believe it or not, a reference to Jason X, because in the timeline wise, this actually takes place before Jason X, obviously. Um, because in Jason X, he actually kicks down a door and kills somebody. So it's funny that that happened. All right. Now they're breaking into Weston Hills because they are going to get hypnosil so they could just start taking it again and just just kind of phase Freddy out again and then only have to worry about Jason. Like that's the plan. Um, but something is going to go awry with the plan, obviously. You know. Who would do this, people? Your dad. See, here's the thing, though. He's like, your dad's name is at the bottom of these. She does not look at it. She does not question it. For all we know, he could be bullshitting her on that one. But I digress. Ugh. And here we go, Freddy taking his opportunity to mess with Freeberg. And again, another situation where we don't get to see in traditional Friday the 13th movie or Nightmare on Elm Street movies. That is what happens when a pothead falls asleep in dreams and everything. You know, this is how Freddy fucks with a pothead in this one. Because if I'm fairly, yeah, nobody, yeah, to my knowledge, I don't think he kills any. The only like drug head he really kills is in the third one. But that was like heroin though, you know. Now right here is where this. See, I will say this is a creepy image. Like all these people with like pads over their eyes and just they're all talking in tongues. It's a very disturbing image, if you ask me. You know, they're all here for the hypnosil and see this one with all the blood and everything right there. Just so weird. But what? Oh, okay, that's what it was. I was like, but what caused him to do it? I've been a while since I sat and watched this, but I should have most of it committed to memory. But there's that 2003 CGI for you. Which, fun fact, that was actually done with a green screen football. They put green screen around a football and was able to create that Freddy going down his throat. Great scream from George Marquette there. That great scream right there. And then Lachlan Marino here tries to get out and gets electrocuted because Jason, we all know, is a conductor. But so good. Power's out now. Now we just saw like Will, Lori, and them going up the wait a minute. So they passed the hypnosil and didn't even know it. That never dawned on me until just now. But what are you gonna do? Now at this point, Freddy has possessed the body of Freeberg with his plan to not only get rid of the hypnosil so the teens can't suppress Freddy at this point, but now Freddy himself, who in the body of Freeburg, now has a plan against Jason himself. Surprise! Surprise, motherfucker! You know, I'm pretty sure Jason would have said if he talked. See, and they don't know that Freddy's in the body. Yeah, I like this. See, they don't know. Like for a split second, they're actually teaming with Freddy Krueger for a split second, which is nice little thing that you don't know. You know, but this is Freddy's plan. Come to Freddy. So right here, and then this was the answer to if you read the book Slash of the Titans, which again, great book if you haven't read it. Um, one of the questions that was asked during many of the scripts was, "How do we get Freddy?" Oh, I love this look by Monica Keena right here. Oh my God, such a great shot. Oh, Ronnie, you did a great job on that shot. Or the cinematographer, I should say. But one of the questions that was frequently asked when trying to write a script for Freddy vs. Jason is that we knew Freddy had to get into the dreams of Jason. The question was how, because it's not like Jason slashing people was a fucking 9 to 5 job. It's not like like fucking 5 o'clock he clocks out. It's not like Sam. It's not like Foghorn Leghorn and fucking Sam the Coyote. You know, um, we never see Jason sleep. So they needed a way to get Jason into Freddy's, territory, so to speak. Um, and in this case, Freddy is using his mom to berate him. And now we're about to get, what are we, like an hour something in? And we're going to get. Now, when I first saw this in theater, I was like, oh, here we go, fight time. And then that happened. That machete came through and cut off Freddy's arm. And I was like, what? Are you free? And then the other one came down. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I didn't. Then this happened. Like, boom, the arms regenerated. So I was just like, okay, we're in for something, and here it goes. The only thing that bothered me about this fight scene is about to come up. When I first saw it, I didn't like it. It's kind of grown on me as the years have gone by, but it's coming up here. He's using his mind right now to fuck with Freddy because he's in the dream world. This is Freddy's territory, Freddy's world, so he can pretty much do what he wants here. Which fun fact here, look right there. There's 3 tiles that he threw into Freddy. They formed the New Line logo. Fun fact. But here it is right here. Like he starts batting around Jason around his boiler room, and it makes the pinball noises. And when I saw it in theater, like visually it looks fine. Him banging around the boiler room and everything, but I hate it. I hate. Oh, sorry, my phone there. I hated the fucking pinball noises. I just hated fucking all of them. Uh, there's a funny, when I saw this again, I saw this opening night in the theater, and when this happened here, this big container falling on Jason and Freddy wondering why he won't die. Like he said, "Why won't you die?" And like somebody in the crowd was just like this is just what he said. Okay, he was like, "Cause I'm Jason, nigga." That's what he said, and it was the funniest fucking thing. You know. All right, here we go. Now we got the water. I love the color change too. It goes from red to green, which kind of gives it a new aesthetic. Here, but then here we go. Here's the debate. Boom. Is Jason afraid of water? Because Freddy says, "Oh, so you are afraid of something after all." And at first he's like, "Huh." Like he's ready for Jason to come for round 2. He's like, "Let's go." You are afraid of something after all. But I'm with the directors on this one. Like, I don't think he's afraid of it. I think he's cautious of it. And I think that's a big difference. There's a difference between scared and cautious. And like, he went to go slash Freddy in that moment, and he noticed the water. And considering that he drowned as a child, that made him stop and be like, "Whoa, whoa, that's fucking water. Like, I don't want to, like I don't want to touch that." It's kind of, it's essentially like his poison oak or something. You get poison oak one time, and you're just like, oh, I don't ever want to touch it again. And this, I mean, it's on a more extreme level, but that's exactly what it is. Like he sees the quote unquote poison oak in this situation, and he stops himself. Um, and it brings him back to that childhood memory, and that's how Freddy is actually able to enter the subconscious that is Jason. We finally see that Jason actually has a fucking subconscious and everything, despite the murderous rampages that he does and everything. He actually does have a subconscious. He has memories. Um, he has visions and everything, which typically wouldn't associate that with Jason, especially if you watch the 10 movies that came before this featuring Jason as the main character. But this one actually shows that, like, okay, like, even though he viciously goes out there and kills people, he does get cautious around certain things. You know, I mean, although it kind of just, I really wouldn't say it kind of fucking, backtracks on part 7 either. But there's actually, I don't know if it was a deleted scene, but there's actually like some sort of deleted scene here where Jason is sitting on the bed. You see that bed right there? He's sitting on the bed holding a teddy bear. It was supposed to be some part of a deleted scene. I don't think that one's even included in the DVD. There's some deleted scenes included in the DVD, including the alternate ending, which was fucking awful. Which I'm glad they went with the ending they did and not the one on the DVD. Now, Lori is they have Jason tranquilized here, and the plan is to bring um Freddy out so Jason can kill him in the real world. So kind of like a part 1 type of situation, like bring him into the real world and we'll deal with it then. Um and apparently you can drive from Ohio to New Jersey in a matter of fucking an hour, apparently. Considering the geography here, but here we go. We get the good old Camp Crystal Lake. And now she enters a dream world. Supposedly, somehow she enters a dream world and somehow enters the same dream as fucking Jason. Here's a great reference to Friday the 13th Part 2 coming up here. They're picking on Jason, and then because he's a mongoloid, and then boom, they put the sack over his head, which I was just like, that's a great reference to Part 2, and it turns out I was right. Um, but like, how did she end up in the same fucking dream as Jason? I like how there's two people fucking talking on the porch, and then there's two people fucking. It's not my fault. This bitch is dead on her feet. Oh man. So now it's just like, okay, like Freddy knows she's asleep. So now he's like, all right, I'm gonna fuck with her. But now Jason, but he also has to deal with Jason too. So he's trying to take the opportunity to use this, flashback in his subconscious here, because again, he's poked him in the head at this point to dig into his subconscious to just eliminate Jason at this point. Because if he eliminates Jason, the kids are his. Because eventually they have to sleep. So he knows they're gonna. Again, that's such a great gag. Like, she did not know Jason's face was gonna look like that. So when she went to help him and his face came up, she had no idea his face was gonna look like that, and it freaked her out. A lot of there were some scripts out there that a lot of them brought Freddy and Jason together because Freddy was the reason that Jason drowned as a kid. Like, Freddy was the counselor, which on paper sounds like an okay plot device to get there, but given the right context, I think it could work. Like I think there's at least two of the scripts out there that kind of go with that, where like Jason was the one who killed him, or Freddy was the one who killed him as a kid because he's a child murderer slash molester, which makes sense. I think one of them just didn't do a good job of conveying it very well. Whereas like the other one, I thought did an okay job at it. It was just I think it had something to do with the whole cult thing too, but I'm not 100% on that one. Again, for more references on this, check out the book Slash of the Titans. I mean, there's a digital version, there's an audiobook version, there's even a physical copy version. I highly suggest any of them. I read the digital and even listened to the audiobook version. What a chain of events here. She goes to give Jason mouth to mouth, so because they need Jason. They need Jason to fucking bat off Freddy here. And Jason just disappears from the dream, so he's awake now. And again, now you're just pissing off Freddy. And what a great visual that is. Him just jumping out of the water like that and landing on the pier. And he has that evil look. Mr. Wake Up Call. See, missed that. See, now she has that fear of like she's stuck now. But she doesn't know that they can't wake her up at the moment because she's tranquilized. They use the fucking tranquilizer to put her up. And we're about to find out the truth behind her dad here. And here we are, Camp Crystal Lake. And if you look, there's actually a fucking sequel to this, a comic sequel called Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, which includes Ash from the Evil Dead series. Apparently, they allude to it in here, but there's like a construction development trying to build over Crystal Lake. It's a little bit more apparent in the comic book, but not so much in the movie, And here we go. We find out that it was actually Freddy who killed Laurie's mom, which, again, doesn't really make a lot of sense considering that he usually went for teenagers slash children. But, you go with it. And here we go. We notice Jason entering Crystal Lake, and they're trying to get her awake. And now Freddy's just having a grand old time with her because he knows she can't wake up. Just cutting her titties up. Which, hey, I ain't mad at. Because I'm sorry, Monica Keena in this movie is just, whew, man. You couldn't use the door, Jason? Really? You had to burst through the window like that? All right. Oh, Will takes a machete shot. I don't buy that he couldn't pull that fucking machete out of the table so fast. Great down shot right there. Down her shirt. Messy. I guess you could say in this one they kind of really downplayed the whole like children thing because like he kills an adult apparently in the past, and he wants a piece of Lori, stabs him with a flagpole. How American is that? America. See, now all of a sudden she cares about Lindemann. I don't know. One of the very few things about this movie that I really just didn't care for. And here we go. Now, this is the moment, like in the theater, when I went and saw this opening night, Jason flips over that table. Freddy realizes he's in the real world, and we know we're about to get the fucking final battle. You could just feel the fucking fever pitch in the fucking room. And it was an amazing fucking feeling. Again, if you ever get to watch this on a big screen with like 300 other fucking fans, highly suggest it. You know, because like just for that moment right there, where like Jason flips that table and Freddy realizes he's there, and it's just like, oh fuck, you know, shit's about to happen. You know, and here we go, man. He's just taking him through a fucking window. Like, look at this. Like, they do not hold back in this fight, man. You know, there's obviously some, and Ronnie Yu used some Rocky influences. He used some WWE influence. Um, he used, did I say Rocky? Yeah. Um, he used a lot of different influences for this fight. You know, and he knew he was done. Linderman knew he was done. You know, and he's telling Kia to get out of here and get help. You know, but Linderman knows he's done. You know, he just didn't want her to see him die. You know, so he sent her on her way so he could die peacefully. But he still didn't get the girl. You know, unfortunately. But I wish George Marquette was in more stuff. I think he's a funny dude. You know, unfortunately, you know, he did those two movies that I mentioned, Just Friends and Girl Next Door, and if he's done other stuff, I haven't seen it. You know, but see, here it is right here. You kind of get like that construction site right there, and now apparently a lot of people get really antsy over this line right here. Like Kia goes, you know, oh, okay, wait a minute, dark meat. Yeah, but a lot of people get upset about the line that Kelly Rowland's about to say, where she's like, apparently, you know, like, who's afraid of a faggot in a Christmas sweater? And like, I'm just like, okay, you know, the scene was originally written as she runs into Jason Voorhees and basically repeats the speech that Nancy Thompson gave in the first movie about like how I take back all my energy, da da da, and nothing happens. She turns around into Freddy and says, "Wrong one, bitch." You know, so I always thought that was a better fucking kill than this one coming up here. You know, and then it becomes like a euphemism for a penis. You know, which I don't know. But here we go. We get another round of Freddy versus Jason here. This time on a construction site. Look at that. Gets the claws right there. Oh, and I love her fucking delivery here. Here we go. Here we go. Everything from me. And I am not leaving until I see him die. Oh, I fucking love that. Fucking love it. For a long time, I was trying to write this like fucking fictional fucking sequel called Freddy versus Jason versus Taylor Swift. And like it was all fucking the whole fucking thing was built on the line like I am not leaving until I see his blood drops on my guitar. Like that was like my whole fucking crux to it. You know? Yeah, so here we go. We got all these air tanks sitting here. Man, the torpedoes. Great visual. There's air tanks flying past them and everything. And then finally, boom! Double tap. But yeah, like I said, in the comic book, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, which was the planned sequel to this movie, um, the construction site is actually. I never understood why he stood up that way. And then here we go. All those stakes coming down, which again, another great fucking visual here. Now, the one inconsistency, people, if you read about it, and it doesn't really bother me. In all technicality, Freddy's blood is green, and Jason's blood is like a dark black. But in here, they just went for the traditional red. But I think it just makes for a better fight. If you go for the red over the black here. But yeah, here you kind of get that like comical Freddy right here. He's like, shit, I messed up. He's like, damn it. He's trying to push that thing down here, but he done goofed. Now Jason's gonna get a little bit of revenge here. See, there it is. Apparently, like one of the earlier scripts that like mentioned the construction site. Like apparently it mentioned like I can't remember it offhand, but like I know one of the earlier scripts for this, like for this version of the movie, I should say, actually had like more to do with the construction site. Like it kind of explained it better and why they're fighting on it and everything. Like here, it's just kind of here. It's just like we're back at Crystal Lake and we're fighting on the construction site. Like, okay, what's up with the construction site? But I think in one of the earlier drafts of this one, they kind of explain it more. Here we go. We got Freddy versus Jason on the pier now. Jason having the upper hand here. Boom. Big cut. Another cut. See, look at the blood shooting out here. Oh, another one. Now the stunt that was actually nominated for awards, the Oscars and everything like that. Apparently there is an Oscars for stunt awards. Oh, I love this look coming up. The fucking like when Jason looks at his hand, like look at this shit. Like, huh? All right. But there are like Oscars for stunt awards, and the stunt coming up here, this fire stunt, was actually nominated for one of those awards here. It's when Freddy and Jason are lit on fire and shot into the lake. That award was actually nominated for like the stunty or whatever the equivalent would be. Yeah, look at Jason, Freddy just giving him everything he's got, and then this right here. Claw into the eye, just bam. See, it's a brutal fight. It's a brutal fight. I mean, this movie does deliver on Freddy. And here comes Laurie with them titties just bouncing with the fire, everything. Jason blocking that machete. And they've now lighted the whole pier on fire. Look at that. Jason going to reach in and grab his heart, but fuck, you fucked up. He's got no fingers. Pure line propane. I don't know why, but I want to watch King of the Hill all of a sudden. Which, fun fact, Robert Englund's, one of his favorite TV shows is King of the Hill, and he was on a flight sitting next to one of the producers, and he started talking to him, and even that producer of King of the Hill did a take on Freddy vs. Jason. It's not one of the 13 that were commissioned, but he did a script for Freddy vs. Jason, and Robert Englund took a fucking stab on a script for it. Again, like I would love to if there's like an archive out there of like every script that was written, not just the ones that were commissioned. I would fucking love to see it. Here's the stunt right here that I'm talking about. They're lit on fire and blown into the. That was nominated for their stunt award, whatever their yearly stunt award thing. There's that little bit of a sign. But now the original, one of the original endings had more intense ending than this, like a giant the river. The lake drained, and a big hand came up and sucked down Freddy and Jason. And at the end, Laurie's dad came over and kind of found Jason or Freddy's glove, one of the two. And then he was sucked down too. So, it was too expensive for them to produce. And of course, there's the legend of the original ending had Freddy and Jason still fighting in hell, and then the chains come out, and Pinhead from the Hellraiser movies comes out and says, "Gentlemen, what seems to be the problem?" Which would have been a badass ending in my opinion, but obviously they couldn't get the rights to Pinhead at the time. See, right here, we think it's Jason, but nope, it's Freddy. But hey, Freddy, You missing something? Boom. His own claw through his heart. And that's all Jason had left. Boom. You know, he's down into the water. Now, I don't know if it's just my ears or anything, but this part right here, I always feel like whoever did the sound for this movie, put in a very subtle applause track here, because right here, welcome to my world, bitch. She cuts off Freddy's head here, boom, nice and clean, and then listen. If you listen carefully, without my commentary, if you listen carefully when he goes into the water, you kind of hear like an applause rather than a splash. You know, and that's something that I'm just like, am I hearing that correctly? Or is that something my brain's trying to make up? I don't know. But, and there she is. Lori, our final girl. Which, fun fact, if you read the comic, her and Will are killed in the first, like, 10 pages of the fucking sequel. You know? Which, you know, another fun fact, that actually made fucking Monica Keena here, that made her a little butthurt. You know, because her theory was that, like, she gave Jason back her machete, like, here you go. She threw it in the water, only for him to use it on her and get killed in the sequel. You know, so she was kind of hot about that. One of the original endings was also, like, finally Lori and Will finally fuck and have sex, and, like, Will turns into, like, this weird amalgamation of Freddy with claws, and nobody really got it. We're like, son of Freddy? Like, what? Yeah, nobody got it. And, you know, this is why I always say this movie does not have a clear winner, because Jason comes out of the water. You know, he's looking fucking prim and fresh after that fight and everything. Probably a couple less fingers, you know. But he also has Freddy in his hand, which is weird because, oh no, his fingers are off. Yeah, his fingers are still off, which is incredible how he's able to hold that with the grip he has with no fucking fingers. You know, and then Freddy winks at the camera here, like, hey, we're not done yet. You know? So, there you have it. Ronnie Yu directing a great fucking movie as El Nino's Dream of Me. I forgot what it's called. Damian Shannon and Mark Swift. That's his name. That's who wrote it. But yeah, this is one of my favorite fucking movies ever. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me talk over it the whole time. And if again, read the book Slash of the Titans. You can learn more about it watching Never Sleep Again. There's a documentary that mentions a little bit about it called, what's it called? It's on the Jason X DVD, The Life and Times of Jason Voorhees, I believe it's called. His name is Jason. There's a little bit of information on there. There's a lot of information out here, but I highly, highly suggest the book Slash of the Titans. You're going to learn so much about this. You're going to learn about the video game that never came to fruition, all this stuff. Soundtrack's incredible. Power Man 5000's on it. El Nino, Spine Shank. Great fucking soundtrack here. I love this movie to death, even though it has a few inconsistencies in it. And yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this edition of Unnecessary Commentary. I am the artist, and until next time, be breezy.